Good morning, everybody. I hereby call the March 20th meeting of the Prescott City Board of Adjustments to order. It's March 20th, 2025. Board members, when I call your name, please say here. I'm going to do roll call. I'm the chair, Jim Lamerson. Vice Chair, Tony Teeters.
Here.
Tom Davis.
Here.
Mary Frederickson.
Here.
Miriam Hawbrook, excused. Mark Hoekness.
Here.
Tom Hutchinson.
I'm here.
Okay, so we have 6 members present, and it'll take, for action, it will take 4 votes. So having said that, I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We'll go to discussion items. First item on the deal to discuss is to, I know that, I see it right there. Thank you. Approve the minutes from the last meeting. And I went over them. I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I would like somebody else to give me some input as to whether or not they read the minutes and everything was accurate, the best that it could be. So with that, Tony, you want to talk about the last meeting and with the minutes and all that stuff?
I don't have much to discuss, only that it went a little longer than we thought it would. But at this point, I think if everybody's read it, you can ask for a motion.
Has all the members here read their minutes? Is there any dissension from what the minutes have to say? Hearing none, I'll open it up for a motion as to whether to accept the minutes or not.
Mary Frederickson, I'll move to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. Tom Davis, second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much. It passes unanimously. So now moving on to the other items on the agenda, we have a presentation for Variance 24-009, and I'll turn to staff.
Thank you and good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Tammy DeWitt, Community Planner. Let's see if this is going to work. Oh, here, okay. So before you is a request for a variance to reduce the front setback from 22 feet to 20 feet for a new single-family residence. This is an area that's just being built out. It's part of Pinnacle Lakes, Pinnacle at Prescott Lakes, Unit 2, Phase 2B. These were platted as a planned area development, which allows for a reduction in lot sizes, setbacks, and other development criteria. Here's the lot in question. As you can see in the back, there is some terracing due to the hillside back there. So it did reduce this, a little bit the size of the lot. Here's from the subdivision plat. This is the site plan that's being presented to you before. Per the subdivision plat, we are, with these planned area developments, we do require that garages be set back 22 feet to allow for larger vehicles or large trucks to be able to park without sticking out into the right-of-way. So this request before you is to reduce that driveway length by 2 feet for a 20-foot driveway. And they are also measured to the edge of curb. And this is from the plat that showed what the typical setbacks is, and that it shows that 22 feet medium. The house itself can be set forward, but the garage has to be set back, and that's how they've been allowing with these planned area developments. So again, here's a picture of the parcel in question. There's 3 vacant lots right there, but we do have the hillside in the back, which kind of affects the property layout. Here is an example. This is a mid-sized truck. It does have a bike rack on the back. As you can see, most people don't park right up to the garage doors. You usually leave a foot or two so you walk between the garage. That's just how we are as humans, the way we park. So we have room to walk in front of it. But if this was a bigger truck, it would probably stick out into on the sidewalk, causing a hazard. And here's another one from the same neighborhood. It's a full size, but with a short bed. As you can see, it's backed all the way back to the edge of the sidewalk. And if there was a hitch on the back, it could impact people trying to use the sidewalk. Hence the staff's concern with the reduction in the sidewalk. The driveway length. This was reviewed against all our criteria for variances, and the information was included in your packet. Staff does have concerns with the decrease in the length of the driveway for potential hazards. We did receive one letter of opposition or concern, and that was included in your packet, but we did send out notices to all the property owners within 300 feet, posted the property, and we published in the local paper. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm free to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Members of the board, questions?
Tammy, I have a question. The lots now, those 3 lots, do not have a sidewalk in front of them. Do you know if there's any plan to put a sidewalk, or are we talking about the driveway extending down to the curb? And so if there was any extension of a truck in the driveway, it would be out into the roadway.
Correct. This side of the street doesn't have a sidewalk. The sidewalk's only on the other side of the street.
Tammy, Tom Hutchison here. Just a little bit of color. The most popular truck in America is an F-150 with a crew cab and a 5-foot bed, and it's 227 inches long. That's 19 feet. So if you leave a little gap at the garage door and put a trailer hitch on the back, you're into the road.
And that's exactly our concern as staff.
And I don't know if the applicant is here or somebody representing the applicant. The question I would have is, when I was looking through the packet, I'm sorry, this is Mary Fredrickson. When I was looking through the packet, there was some indication that the site plan or the model that could fit on that lot, they needed to move it forward because of the distance between the terracing wall and the back of the house. And I couldn't quite get my head wrapped around just how much that would be. There was some indication that it might be a safety issue because it was a narrow, very narrow backyard. But if I could get some clarification as to just how much backyard there would be if
Sure.
the house was moved back so that the code could be satisfied.
So these lines draw where the terracing is, and then what the back, the very lowest part of that terracing, it terraces up. So there's not really a safety issue because the walls are there to prevent anybody, but this terracing in the back here, that's the question, that they wanted to move the house up to allow the property to have somewhat of a backyard using this model plan. And
I guess that was my other question, but let me get to this question first. So on the description here, how many feet is it from the back wall of the house to the first terrace wall?
It looks like it's 14 feet. It shows it, if you have to pull up it's right, the number right there. I think it's like 14 feet something inches. I can't read that far from here.
So if the house was moved backwards to comply with the code, that means 2 feet closer to the terracing wall, it would have essentially a 12-foot backyard before it hits the first terracing wall.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess my other, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be dominating. My other question was, I read in the packet there were only 3 house plans that were approved by the city and the HOA. I'm not sure how that works. So I'd like clarification on that, if the applicant could provide that. But I think I saw in the packet that there were only 2 housing plans that could fit on this narrow, short lot.
Sure. So
So
for
maybe some clarification there.
So for each phase, there's model plans that are approved. So they just come in with a site. The plans are already approved for the house because these are leveled to be flat lots, and then they show us how they're going to fit on the site plans. So that way, it kind of fast tracks those type of communities that have the model homes. That it kind of helps with the processing of site plans. We just verify it meets the setback. We did issue a permit for this lot that did meet the setback, but then they came forward wanting to adjust it to allow for a bigger backyard.
Okay, when you say approved, do you mean by the HOA or also by the city?
By the city, they came in with a site plan that showed it setback that meets the requirements, and we approved it, but then they came in and they're asking for this now to amend that.
So there was a way to have a house built on this lot that did comply with the code?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mark Hoeknes.
Yes. Go ahead.
Question for staff. How tall is that first wall behind the house?
I don't have those specs in front of me.
The reason for my question is would
That kind of shows it. I think it looks probably about 6 feet, maybe.
okay, would it be possible to fill the area to raise the house and eliminate the first terrace?
I'd have to defer that. That would lift the height of the house, but I'd have to defer to the applicant of the possibility. There may be issues if they raise it that high. Then the slope of the driveway wouldn't meet fire requirements, so that would possibly be an issue.
Okay, I'm just thinking of ways to comply, but that hasn't been reviewed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It does seem like that would raise an issue about the pitch of the driveway.
Yeah, these are mass graded
short
lots to
driveway.
be get all flat, so that would definitely change the character of that neighborhood to have a house all of a sudden raised up.
Maybe the applicant could clarify for us a couple of these questions about the height of the retaining wall? Bring it on.
State your name and your address as to whether or not you're actually in the city of Prescott. Thank you.
Yeah, Chad DeVries, 92 Morning Glow Way, Prescott 86303. I'm here today. I work with Southwest Sunset Homes and Davis Construction. Mr. Davis couldn't make it. He's out of town with his family. It's obviously spring break, so you got me today. I am the sales and marketing for Solstice Ridge, which is the marketing too in Prescott Lakes. The challenge with these lots, and I would love to share some exhibits with you. I think this is going to clear up a lot of things, if I may.
Sure.
Who do I hand them to? I got
Take
one for each of you, just so we can kind of talk about it.
bring it up front, Chad, when you get an opportunity.
I also want to clarify, in the presentation, there's only 2 adjacent lots. If you look on that first page, lot 38 is built. We're almost finished with that. The problem we had is when you look at that retaining wall, it is unbelievable how big that thing is. I mean, from every tier, and we can't get rid of that bottom tier. And I think that was the challenge in the beginning. They didn't realize, obviously, where that bottom retaining wall would be. So gradually, and you'll see pictures, that's why I put A and B on there in the supplemental pages. We're on the back corner of 38 on A. We're almost touching that corner right there of that wall. And for an emergency or anything to get a stretcher out of there. And I also put on there on that first page, the length of the driveway of 38 is going to be similar to what would be on 39. So we're not, we're talking 29 feet, 6 inches on the longest side and 27.4. I'm no truck expert, but I Googled the biggest truck, or for a consumer truck, it's 22.2 feet. And I got to tell you, our market up there is the average age of Prescott, and I really haven't sold anything to anybody with a truck, not that can't happen. But we also have a gate coming in too, so if you're worried about ingress, egress with, fast cars or anything. It's gated right at that end. And you'll see that in Exhibit 4, I think it is on here. And then the HOA did approve this. They said it, I think it was in your packet, that it's in the best interest of, so the HOA approved the variance and determined it's the best interest of the HOA and its members as a whole to have this adjusted. This plan is very small. It's only 2417 square feet. We do have 3 different plans in there. One's 2550, and then our big one that's down that we can't fit on this lot is 3700 square feet. The problem is, if you look at that picture on Exhibit 3, that wall right there on A, that's where that wall starts to go into the adjacent lot 39. So you look how tight that is right there. I mean, when I have buyers walk in there, they walk right out. They're looking right into a wall. And we're not asking for much. We're asking for 2 feet. And if you look at the driveway on lot 38, it's going to be similar to that. So even with a trailer hitch and all that, and our garages are fairly big too. And most people aren't going to buy in there too with the big trucks and stuff. That picture that was on there wasn't in our community.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
Oh, it was? That didn't look like one of ours. Okay. What else? Let's see. Mary, you had some other questions earlier?
Yeah, I have a couple questions
Yes,
for
sir.
you, if I may.
Yeah.
What occurs to me is either the lot's too small or the house is too big. Which one is it?
Well, I think it was fine when the original plans were in there, but with that additional retaining wall required down at the bottom, we wouldn't be here right now, but that was required, and I wasn't part of that conversation or that approval. The floor plan is very, very small, and it's just making it more comfortable in the back, because even for ingress, egress, if you tried to get a first responder in there or something and tried to get out the back, if you needed a stretcher, you're gonna hit the wall.
Tammy, how much percentage coverage are they allowed?
With these lots,
Percentage of lot size.
yeah, they just have to meet the setbacks. When these are approved, there's no percentage. They just have to meet the setbacks as per the plat.
And both adjacent houses are no owners right now, so it doesn't really affect anybody on either side. 38's for sale. 39 has got its pin placement right now, and 40's there. So and then the adjacent home up on the hill, that's, if you come up there, that is like in a hole. So that neighbor's not even going to see it. So, and these been on our plan since day one for those 2 particular models.
Mr. Chair, Mark Huckness, another question.
Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Sir, you show Exhibit 3,
Yep.
and what I actually see are a couple columns that are not in the livable space of the home. Are you measuring from the patio in those columns? Is that what you're looking at, or is it from the back? I'm assuming it's the sliding door or the rear door.
Yeah. The difference in this plan is we had room. There's a bigger side yard to the right when you look at the aerial. What I'm stating there with those 2 little arrows there is that's what it's going to be like on the next lot over. We don't have any give on an angle or anything, so that's going to be pretty straight on. So that's going to be more or less to the column. And our patio is a little different. This is a different floor plan.
So if the home that was put on the property didn't have the rear overhanging patio, you wouldn't have as much trouble. You could actually move the house back where that patio is.
Yeah, but then we'd have to go through all new approvals and stuff. We have everything approved, yeah. So.
Yeah, I understand that and appreciate that, but I go back to what my colleague on the board statement that either the house is too big or the lot is too small. There is a way to have a home without, if it didn't have a patio, you'd have the same interior space and the like.
Mr. Chairman, while you're up, I think Board Member Frederickson made a lot of good points that I was going to ask about. But the one thing that driving by there, lot number 40 is undeveloped.
Right.
We're going to have the same problem there.
I don't believe so because of the angle of the lot, because you have that back corner. I think the way it's situated, this lot's just straight back on the property. So if you look at 38, we have a big, to where it says B right there to the right, that's a big side yard. But where it gets tight is right off that patio up that corner, and that's where the wall starts, and that's what's going to be affected most on 39. And the wall tears up higher, and I remember Mary asking that. So
Right.
it goes higher and higher as you get down.
Right. I drove by there.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Not the greatest lots, but
Yeah. And the homes to the, and either staff or the applicant, the homes to the east comply with the code, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
and again, lot 38 is similar to what's going to go on 39 as far as length of the driveway. So it's not tight on 20 feet or whatever it is. There's still room there to fit a larger truck.
I'm sorry, Mary Fredrickson. Did we get an answer to how high on lot 39 that first retaining wall is? It looks like from another picture that it is higher than the first retaining wall on 38.
Yes, that's what I just stated. It goes gradually up because of the terrain there. Because if you look at lot 40, that's like dug into the corner of that hill right there.
And so for lot 39, how high is that first retaining wall?
Oh, geez, that's probably at least 5 feet. And then it goes even higher when you get down to lot 40.
And I guess I'm still not clear on my question about the earlier submission that met all the setbacks, and then there was a change. What was the change that put us here today?
Unfortunately, I don't have that information. I wasn't prepared for that. Sorry about that.
Maybe staff, do we know?
From what the applicant put in their request was to allow more room for, I guess they have, the people have a dog or something, they wanted more room in the back.
The biggest problem when that bottom wall was put in, that was where the issue came in. Otherwise, there wouldn't be an issue. It's a huge wall. There's 4 tiers.
Right. Staff, Tammy, when the earlier plan was approved, that is, had the setbacks qualify, was that first retaining wall in place?
Yes.
Okay, so that earlier version that met all the setbacks, was with that first retaining wall in place.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I've got one more question for staff.
Go ahead.
Mark Huckness again. Could the retaining wall be moved back? Is that an option?
Well, if you look at the picture, it runs across all those lots in the back. So if we also, let's go back to the imagery. As you can see back here, it goes across the whole, so it would have to be re-engineered and redesigned and rebuilt the whole way across these lots. So that would probably be not very cost effective, I would guess.
But it is if that was thought out, the wall could have been back, or it could be moved back as an option.
Because of the terracing, they have to have a gap, a certain, I think, 4 foot between each wall because of the terracing per our code. So if they moved it back, it probably wouldn't meet that requirement for the terracing.
Okay, that's helpful. So that's not an option.
It doesn't appear to be.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
All the terracing and stuff was done when the subdivision, when they graded the lots. That's when all this is done, before the house permits started coming in. So all that was in place before they started developing the lots.
I have a question. Would this fall under the category of a self-induced hardship?
It could, because the house can be moved back to meet the setback, or a redesign to move the garage back. The house itself being set up forward, it's the garage, the driveway length that is our concern. Because this doesn't have a sidewalk, there's no buffer there. It's for a large truck. This one's right across the street. And on the back of this, they do have a bike rack back here. So it's right at the edge of that sidewalk. but if this was a bigger truck, it would encroach into that sidewalk. So anyone using that sidewalk, it would create a hazard. We're not worried about working cars driving by. These are skinny streets to encourage people to go slower. Our concern is the driveway. Nobody parks right up to the garage. I mean, that's just our nature. We don't do that. So we want room in front of it. But as you see with this one, this is a full-size truck with also the driveway behind it, but that's not even a long bed truck. So if that's a short bed. If that was a little bit longer, it would stick out. And if it had a hitch on the back, it would definitely cause a hazard for anybody using that sidewalk. That's our staff's concern.
By the way, that is not our community. That's Solstice Ridge 1. We're in Solstice Ridge 2. I'll put that comparable right there, just so you're aware of that. We didn't build that one. And then real quick, one last thing I want to say is we rarely ever have a HOA approval on anything up there. And with them blessing this, I think that should be taken into consideration because I think it's the best interest of the community. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
question for Tammy. Am I right in assuming that what we're talking about here is trading marketing convenience for public safety?
I'm gonna jump in here because you asked the question of whether or not it's a self-induced hardship. That's up to you to make that determination as the board. You are finders of fact and you are the concluders of law. So I'm just going to read from the statute what you do when you have a variance, and then I'll read from the statute kind of what a self-imposed hardship is and what you can't do.
Thank you, Matt. Keep us on track.
Gonna try. So ARS 9-462.06, subsection G2, says a Board of Adjustment shall hear and decide appeals for variances from the terms of the zoning ordinance only if, because of special circumstances applicable to the property, including its size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings, the strict application of the zoning ordinance will deprive the property of the privileges enjoyed by other property of the same classification in the same zoning district. Any variance granted is subject to the conditions as will assure that the adjustment authorized shall not constitute a grant of special privileges inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone in which the property is located. And then subsection H of that same statute, number 2, says a Board of Adjustment may not grant a variance if the special circumstances applicable to the property are self-imposed by the property owner. And that gets you into what is kind of our traditional debate, right? Where we usually find our conflicts. And it's ultimately up to you to kind of consider the testimony, the documents that were presented. You've got the questionnaire that was filled out by the property owners. You've got the staff's interpretation. And now you go into your kind of fact-finding mode. And that's one of the questions, that you can get into. Marketing convenience. So it's fundamentally going to be up to you guys whether or not the size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings of the property itself are significant enough that you feel that a variance can be granted. Variances aren't a sure thing, but people come here, they propose their requests, and you're going to listen to the testimony, you're going to consider the documents, and then you're going to make that determination as whether or not it's kind of meets those legal markers to grant the variance. And I do think there's one member of the public. All right, so there will be some public comment as well, so you'll consider that in making your determinations as well. The case law on special circumstances usually go to the economics of a thing, right? Just because it may be economically more convenient to have a variance would probably be a special circumstance. But there is evidence here that the size, shape, topography, and location or surroundings of the property may be of such a concern that you may want to grant the variance. It's going to be fundamentally up to you. One of the conditions that you got to think about is whether or not other property in the same classification in the same zoning district already have sort of that same privilege. I don't know if that helps or not, but kind of gives you an idea what the legal kind of bases are in making your decisions.
Thank you, Matt. Before I forget, thank you for being at the meeting, Mayor, and welcome. I forgot early, but it means a lot that the meetings like this are important enough to the mayor to attend. Thank you. Okay, any more comments from the board with regards to this variance?
I guess this is Mark Oakness. I have just a couple that I want to touch on. The garage that's with this, I guess I'll ask the applicant that is here, is that a standard depth garage or is it an extra large garage?
On that particular plan, it's a standard size garage.
So shortening would take you outside of the code for the garage?
I believe so, yes.
And then Tammy, second question is, could you just refresh us on the notice that you got that was against this from a citizen?
Yes, it was included in your packet. They had concerns that they knew that when they developed these lots that there was possibly an issue that all the other lots meet the setbacks. So that's kind of a summary of that part, what the letter said.
And that applicant was within the 300 feet?
I believe so.
Or the applicant, that letter?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. Board, is there
You may wanna take
anything
pub-
before I go to the public?
Tammy, is there any other exceptions like this in that? Is this the first one?
I believe so, yes. I didn't see any others that we've approved in the area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, not hearing any more comments from the board, I would like to open it up to the public.
Thank you.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak to this issue?
Yes, we have one speaker, Jim Orr.
Morning, Board. Good to see you again. Jim Orr, Board of Directors, Prescott Lakes Community Association. In short, we're here today to support Mr. Davis and Southwest Sunset Homes' request for this variance. They presented it pursuant to our document requirements. We had our Architectural Review Committee review it. They unanimously recommended approval. It went to the board and it was unanimously approved. The reason for approval on this is while Sosos Ridge 2B and 2C have not requested a variance for this 20-foot setback instead of 22-foot setback, according to my Architectural Review Committee, we have granted this variance and the city has already before in other neighborhoods. Secondarily, there's been a lot of talk about parking in the driveway. This is a private gated community, and as such, our use restrictions governs our ability to restrict parking in this neighborhood. So we don't even allow historically parking in the driveway overnight. Everything's in a garage. But there are occasions when they do park overnight, but again, our use restrictions specifically address what can be parked in a driveway, so that may help you a little bit there. And then I'm not an engineer, but my understanding of the way this project went was during the phase of presenting the homes, there was a engineered plan for this retaining wall that had been on file for a number of years. I believe it was from 2014 or 15. So the homes they designed fit at that time. But my understanding is after that, when they went to put the walls in, because of the challenge of the slope and the terracing, I believe it's for a 6-foot wall, our requirements required 6 foot in between, a little bit different. Kind of the same setback as when I was here before when we discussed Peregrine Ridge's setback. 6-foot wall, 6 foot back, 6-foot wall, 6 foot, 8 foot, 8 foot. So I believe these walls are 5, but I could be wrong. But that was part of the challenge for the builder. So ultimately, like I say, I don't know if we blessed it, but we approved it. And we're happy to answer any questions you have. And And I believe that the builders acted in good faith on this issue.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming up and talking about it. Nice to see the HOA working in conjunction with what's in the best interest of the public. My point at this point would be to ask my board members if there's no other public comment. Not seeing any. Is there any more dialogue that you would like to entertain?
Well, Mr. Chairman, my point is that I don't know, this is 2 feet, but I think that the more serious concern regarding the entire community would be the 2 feet encroachment into the curb area or whatever you want to call it. And I'd rather see a 2 feet reduction in the backyard, frankly. And it's a shame that we don't have, usually we have custom home designs that the designer can change things, but this is, I guess, a standard footprint, and I would say redesign the footprint in order to allow the 2 feet to occur. So my opinion is that I'm opposed to granting the variance.
And
Thank you for your comment.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair, Mark Hoekness, I feel the same way, that we've really got too large a house, the footprint's too big. And I think there are options, and if we don't use those options, we push the home back and have a smaller area back there. I agree that we don't want it into the street.
Thank you for your comments.
Mary Fredrickson, I would just agree with what's been said. The idea that the backyard would be 12 feet instead of 14 feet in depth seems a fair trade-off to comply with the code to get the standard depth of the driveway.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to deny approval of variance V22009 at this time.
Tom Davis will second.
I have a motion and a second.
Tom Hutchison, I second.
We have a double second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second.
You have a Tom.
So anyway, all those of denying the variance signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying aye. Aye. And so it passes 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 5 to 1. So the variance has been denied. Moving right along, we go to item number C on the agenda, which is variance 25002.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman and board members. Kaylee Nunez, Community Planner. So I am presenting a variance request for height at 691 Cloud Crossing Circle. So here is the request. They are requesting for an increase in the allowed height for a new single-family residence to 46 feet from 35 is the max in our land development code. Here's a zoning map. So it's all single family 12. It's within the ranch subdivision. And those little comments are the subject property. And then the smaller text is Lee Boulevard. But it's up there in the southwest corner. I had to drive way, way up. Here is an aerial view. So forgive me if I get these crossed. I believe this is National Forest, Arizona State Land, or maybe City of Prescott. But either way, this land is government owned. So this is really at the edge of the subdivision, if you will. I thought it pertinent to include the aerial map with the topographical contours. So it just shows essentially the drop here. Oh gosh, let me do the math in my head real quick. 55-foot drop across it. So it is steep. It is steep. Here are pictures of the site. So just to give you an idea, I'm still trying to learn this. Okay, this is like where I posted, and there is just a drop off right here. I was kind of afraid of falling, not gonna lie. And then here's a view of it from the cul-de-sac. And I forget the site plan. I'm assuming that's maybe where they plan their driveway. Man, I'm not doing so good at this today. I felt like I was better on Friday. Another view of the site from the south. So like that's the drop off there kind of, you see. Okay, so here is the section that portrays the largest height. So we measure from natural grade for residential up to the highest point in a vertical plumb line. So you just imagine drawing an envelope, that follows that height. And yeah, so from natural, which is the dashed line, all the way up is 46. We do not include weather vanes or chimneys. So I did the calculations using the same formula we used to grant topographical exceptions. The average slope is about 30%. So it's substantial. I did do a search for other variances granted within the vicinity. I was only able to find one. It was about three quarter miles away. And with that variance, they got an approved reduced front setback and height increased by 7 feet. And I do want to make a note, I forgot to remove this one / that one. It was removed from the staff report, but this subdivision was platted prior to the hillside development standards. So they will not apply. But the full permit review process will. Variance review criteria, and I break it down in the staff report, point by point. Just a quick run through. It's kind of a mixed bag here. So the slope does constitute a topographical challenge. Detriment, height is greater than other homes in the neighborhood. It will be noticeable. And apparently that, I edited the staff report, but again, negate that part about the hillside development standards. Special privileges, I only found one other variance approved in the subdivision. However, there are likely going to be more requests in the future because the flatter lots are being built out, right? And that's just happening in Prescott, especially in the southwest corner. The lots we're seeing that are vacant are more challenging to develop. It is in conformance with the general plan, the land use group map. Utilization. So the property owners are challenged by the topography. However, it is possible that the design could be adjusted so that the deviation is not as great, the deviation from maximum height. I actually set the buffer out to 500 feet because these are larger lots, not clustered as closely together. And as Tammy said, we post the property, we publish in the paper. I had to get this presentation in 2 weeks prior. We had not received emails. I did receive 2 opposition emails from neighboring properties, and I had forwarded those to you earlier in the week. So, with that said, we, have a decision to make here, with the points I presented. Recommended action is moved to approve, deny, or approve with conditions V25-002. and I am available for questions. We do have the project architect present, Tom Terry. And I will yield it back to you.
The opposing landowner is here too, lot owner.
Thank you. Board members, let's chit-chat a little bit and see where you're all on this one. Mary, we'll start with you.
Thank you. I wasn't able to decipher the site plans that were included in the packet. That architectural feature, I don't know if it's correctly called a cupola or
Turret.
the turret. Thank you.
Yes.
How letting go of the weather vane that we don't count, is that correct?
We don't count, we don't count weather vanes or chimneys. So if you see the line, it ends right there at the point
Can
where
you
the two
clarify?
pitches meet.
Thanks. Can you clarify for me how tall, if we just look at the roof line without the turret, how high that turret is?
You know what? I think that question would be better suited for Tom Terry.
Can you come up?
Tom Terry, architect for Distinctive Homes and Architecture. The cupola is about 6 foot tall, and the reason for the cupola was when we went before the architectural committee, we dropped the house as low as we could onto the site, and all the committee, the street presence, all you see was the roof. So the committee, we put our heads together with the committee and came up with these multiple cupola ideas and dormers to improve the roof presence from the street, because that's all that the committee saw. And the developer, Jim Lee's house is like next door, so we were just paying attention to the roof design. So that's the height of the cupola was, about 6 feet. If on this variance request, we'd like to, negotiate. If you don't want to approve the lantern, which is 6 feet, we would still need a variance even if the lantern went away, because it is a steep lot. So we're willing to negotiate. But this is the owner's desire and also the committee's desire to have the cupolas there. So I'm here for any other questions that you have.
And I'm sorry, the way the site plan looks to me, there are the two separate turrets?
Cupolas,
or
that's right.
Cupolas?
I
There's two.
stand corrected. It is a cupola.
Cupola or lantern, whatever you want to call it. So it has several names. But there are two, one above the front entry, and the other one is above the kitchen. The kitchen's in the center of the house, and that's flood light down into the kitchen. So
And
there's
so
two there.
If that taller cupola, the one to the rear of the property, was not there from the street level, would the kitchen cupola provide some visual variance from the street so that there
All
would
of
be
it.
that aesthetic?
Yeah, all of it helps. We have two. We could do one. I mean, we're open to ideas, but this is ideally what the owner wanted to present and ideally what the committee did approve. So,
And maybe for Kaylee, if that back cupola was removed from the design, how much variance from that natural grade point that you've identified there, so taking it down, what did you say, 6 feet?
that's about right. It'd
Yeah, I would yield to Tom for that, but
be about
it-
40 foot tall. Yeah.
they'd still need a variance, but just not as great of a
Right, but it
variance.
would drop from an 11-foot variance, which in my mind is pretty significant, to a 5-foot variance.
Correct.
And how about from the natural grade up to that kitchen cupola? Do we have a measurement there?
I'm sure I pulled it. I don't remember it.
Looks to be 42-ish feet. So
We would be back.
still have a
We would be
variance.
back to a bigger variance from 35 to 42.
right.
I mean, the slope goes up, but still, it would be that much.
7-foot variance versus 11.
Right. Now, I just want to bring to your attention, we're filling the lot, meaning that the house, yes, technically is 46 feet tall from the natural grade, but we're improving the lot so that looks like just a 2-story house. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
From the street.
Well, and it's sunken down. So really, at the street, you're just seeing the roof. So we're one floor down from the street, and all you really see is the roof from the street. So, but from the back, it just looks like a two-story house.
I'm not asking you for a crystal ball thought, but if the lot down on Lee Boulevard as it scoops around ever was developed, somebody looking up from that perspective would see essentially three
Yeah.
stories?
Yeah, this owner owns the lot below it. So
Oh,
they have
interesting.
two.
Thank
They
you.
they own 3 lots there, actually.
Lee,
So, yeah.
Lee Boulevard.
But you're right, it would look tall from the backside, yeah.
You know, and I did drive around and try to gauge, you know, how the surrounding residences looked, and a lot of it they have like vegetation masking it. The homes seem to go out rather than up, but again, these lots were easier to build on. As far as topography goes, yeah.
So it's, I thought it was Lee, but it's apparently that little cul-de-sac below the homeowner's property.
What
think
is
The
it's called
homeowner
Golden
owns
Oak.
that property?
Yeah, that's right.
Golden Oak,
That Golden Oak is that lower one, yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as a follow-up to Mary's comments, in the packet that was sent to us on my computer, there was a elevation from the street, correct?
Believe.
On my computer, when I went through the whole staff report, there was a front elevation.
Yes, I provided the front and the rear. I've provided all 4 elevations in the packet, as well as, you know, the artistic renderings.
Kaylee, I'm sorry, I don't have my paper copy with me. Can you put up on the screen maybe the artist's rendition of what the current plan looks like from the street, not from the backside, which is
Yeah, that's what I'm
pretty
getting
tall.
at.
I do not
but from the
have
street.
that in my presentation, but I'd be happy to bring it.
Oh, thank you.
I was just
being helpful.
focused on the dimensions, you know, because these are great, but they're not as accurate as the architecturals. Oop.
Okay, so I'm looking at the artist's rendition from the street, and it appears that it's quite a bit of the house. It's not just the roof line that you see from the street. You see the front door and the garage, and
Right, you see it all. But it's lower, it's 1 story lower from the cul-de-sac area.
okay, so from the street, you don't see the lower floors, but you do see the complete first floor.
Yes, you're looking down on it, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Chair.
your question. Yes,
Mark Hoekness, I have a question. So if I'm looking at the front of the house from the street, I do see the full first floor, and I see it looks like a hip-type roof facing the street.
That's correct.
And you're adding the cupolas to improve aesthetics. They don't have any real function for the house.
That's true, but they let light into the house, but right, it's pure aesthetics. And it was a committee's concern.
Understand,
Also, so,
but I can also say that you're seeing the front of the cupola's hip roof as well.
Yeah.
So you're actually adding roof to C by putting them up there.
Correct.
So a solution to the height variance, I guess, a question for staff, if the cupolas or turrets or whatever we want to call them were eliminated, it meets code.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and pull the dimension. I still think right here, as we discussed, would still need a variance.
If the cupolas disappeared, it'd be about 40 foot tall.
Yeah, we'd still need about 5 foot variance, but you know, it's a reduction.
Right, okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you for your question. Board, are there any more questions? Any?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Tom Davis, I can't see by the drawings in front of me, but if that highest cupola is removed, and what is the height of that roof pitch? What is
About 40. That's
so it's 6 feet. For
yeah.
clarification, it's 6 feet.
Yeah, he just kind of asked the same question in different words.
Right.
It would still need a variance.
Just clarifying for me what was said and what
Yes.
the way it's working. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now, okay, at that point, not hearing any more comments from the board, I'm going to go to the public.
Mr. Jim Smith.
Yes, my name is Jim Smith, and my address is 699 Cloud Crossing, one lot above this. But the only person that has not been discussed in all of this discussion or consideration is my lot, because I'm right behind it. If it's built as designed, I look right out of my living room and see this house. The house is substantial. The lot at 691 is certainly lower, but building a 40-foot.
Lower the microphone. There we go. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, you can't hear me. Okay, but building a 40-foot house in front of my living room is something I certainly object to. And my house is set to the east so that I have a very good view, a perfect view to the north and to the northwest. But this will certainly, what I will look out on is this house, and or even if the roof height didn't, the single-story roof house didn't actually come above my lot, these cupolas and flagpoles on top certainly do. I don't believe this has been even considered by the architectural committee of the ranch. It may have. I never found out about this until Sunday. At that time, I sent my objection in to be forwarded, hopefully, that to the board members. But building this house at this location, at this house, the only person, period, that it will affect, the net effect of a big house like this on that lot is to see over the house below. They can already see over the house below, but the result is blocking my view. That's all it is to it. The proposal is to raise that house up is to use fill and to additionally raise the house up. But I object to this variance being granted, and I hope that you'll see my position that looking out of my house, I've lived there for 15 years. The construction of a house on that lot is a challenge, but if they could easily move it all the way to the east on another lot they own, and I wouldn't even see it. But nobody will see the roof or the house except me. All of the rest of the houses are lower. So there's my objection. And all of the drawings and all of the stuff that I've seen here today don't show you my house that's right on the borderline, right above this.
So, sir, just to clarify, you're to the south here, right? Is that what you're?
Right there, right.
Yes, that's you.
And my only view is to north and northwest.
Right.
The view to the south is the city of Prescott water tank. And you can see that there.
Yes. Oh, yep. Right there. I'll get you
That's
to
right.
this someday.
So my house is the last one on the street.
And Mr. Chair, Mark Oakins, I have a question for the applicant.
Yes, Mark.
Sir, thank you for being here. I appreciate your participation and the fact that you're here to tell us. 1 second before you go. Sir?
Sir.
I have a question
Oh,
for
Tom.
you.
Talking to me?
Tom or?
Yes, sir.
Jim
Okay.
Smith is my name.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Mr. Smith, if the cupolas aren't on the house, it's going to meet code, and then the applicant would be able to put the house there. You understand that?
Well, if the architectural committee approves it, and they haven't, to my knowledge, I've made some calls to them. Nobody ever told me about this till last Sunday. But from the picture or the drawing or rendering, or whatever the name of this is, if there's no cupolas and flagpoles on this, it's still higher.
It is. That's correct. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
It wouldn't meet the code.
Okay, well, I'm glad we brought that up. I appreciate that. So eliminating the cupolas isn't the only problem. The problem is the house is too high.
That's right. And I heard discussion about self-imposed. There's nothing on that lot. It's their idea to make it that big.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just a kind of a last comment question for staff. It's my understanding that in the city of Prescott, the owner could combine, if they own 3 lots, they can combine and make it 1 lot for the future?
They could. It's called a replat. They'd have to go through the replat process, but that's administrative.
But what's nice about a replat is it removes I'll call it the middle property line, so setbacks are from the periphery of the new plot
Yes.
plan.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. So again, just agreeing with you, there are options, multiple options for the owner in this case. Thank you, sir.
That's right. They could do it. If I could do it, I would do it. Thank you.
Chair. I have a question for Kaylee, because again, I can't quite parse out back up to the site plan. That.
The elevation? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
That elevation line that's to the left on this drawing.
Yes.
From the natural grade up to the flat roof line, letting go of the turrets or cupolas. How high is that?
41 feet, 6 inches. That is a good benchmark. I mean, of course, like the grade point is different right underneath it. But
So
yes.
if both cupolas were eliminated from this design, maybe replaced with skylights, so you'd still get the light issue, which would be great.
Yeah, you see it does like it falls. Oopsies. So here. So it would probably be less than 41.6 here, but like Tom was saying, he would know the best. It'd be about 40 feet.
Okay, so it would still need a variance, but it would be essentially a 5 foot or so variance.
Correct.
Thank you. And if I understand correct, the designer, the architect, you're willing to consider a redraw?
The owners want to develop this lot any way they can. They would prefer the lantern or the cupolas, and the committee preferred them. But we just want to develop the lot, and whatever variance board decides, we'll just go with. But we're submitting what the committee and the owner preferred first. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And just procedurally, maybe Matt could clarify, because I don't have it straight in my head, if we denied it or put it off until a redraw of the house plan could be undertaken, which of the two would be better, to either deny or delay until a new plan could be submitted?
You can take multiple approaches, one of which is if you want to move on it today, knowing that you have a voluntary indication from the representative of the homeowner is to grant a 5-foot variance and be done with it. And then with that, they can go back and try to figure out how to design the lot. I think that'll be the cleanest way to do it. But if you want to have them come back, you can continue this and ask them that we're not inclined to go the 11 feet, but can you bring something back that, something we can live with?
Thank you. And it sounds like from the comments from the architect that the homeowner is interested in developing the lot and might be amenable to a redraw. But my view would be to deny and let them come back for another requested variance with a redraw.
The only issue with denying is they'd have to reapply. And, it's a substantial fee. I think we could do a deference, right, Matt? And have
Yeah, you can continue it and ask.
yeah, and that way we just we'd amend it rather than having them restart and pay. It's $1,250. So
My. So then I changed my position, and I think a deferral or a continuance to allow for a redraw if the homeowner and the architect are open to that idea.
So, well, Mary, if I may, Mr. Chair, Mark Hoeknes,
Go ahead.
I don't mind seeing a deferral, but if we defer it, I want them to meet the code. I don't want them to plan to be outside of the code. We heard from Mr. Smith. I live in a community where there's very hills and very steep, challenging lots, and I worry about one of my neighbors doing exactly this type of thing, the undeveloped lot. There are options. There's lots of options for this to be developed. As we talked about, combine the 3 lots that are owned and look at where the house might sit on the combined lot, where it would fit, or move it on this lot, or reduce the size or the height. Particularly with a neighbor being impacted, I think it is inappropriate to say, come back with a pre-planned variance. I think we start with this is denied, and go look at your options, and then if there's absolutely no options, come back to the board and say we need a 2.5-foot variance.
That would certainly
Could
be
I
a
respond?
cleaner way for the homeowner and the architect if they could combine lots or come up with a drawing that meets all the codes. And I guess that would have to wait until they come back.
well, if we were to deny it, I mean, if we wanted it to meet the code, then we wouldn't need this variance. We'd
Right.
just deny it. But
Now, we're in the ranch subdivision. They dictate a 412 roof, and the city has dictated an 18% grade. And when you put those 2 recipes together with a house on this lot, we end up with a height problem. So even if the cupolas disappear, we're still at 41 feet, 41.6 in height, because of the dictates of the committee and the city driveway. So we've gone down as steep as we can go to get the house as low as possible as the present design is. So when you say redesign, we'd have to throw out everything and start over. So, and we still may have a problem even at that time if we threw out everything and started over. So,
I'm sorry. Thank you. You just popped something else up into my head. The current design with the new driveway pitch requirement.
Yeah, the fire department.
What is from the fire department? What is the pitch of the driveway currently?
18% is what ours is, and that's what the code is. So we're
Okay.
down 18%.
So you're already at the maximum
So
allowed.
we're down as far as we can go due to city regulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Are there any other comments from the board?
Tammy DeWitt, community planner. Another option, the lots that are left in the ranch are very steep, and like Kaylee said, we'll probably see more of these. If you're not comfortable with the proposed height and you don't want to offer another alternative, because you can approve for less, like the 40 feet, that gives them something to go back, or you can defer it, not date specific, and then once they're ready to come back with a new proposal, we would re-advertise and let the neighbors know about the new proposed height and to give them an additional chance to comment again. That's just a second option. So instead of just you can either deny it, approve another height, as long as it's less, we can do that, or third, defer it to allow them to come back with a new proposal if that's what you'd rather see. I just wanted to throw those are options.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank you for your interjection. Yes, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, my opinion, I think a continuance is in order. The applicant has heard a lot of comments. Give it the best shot, and let's take another look at it. I mean, I'm open-minded to a couple of feet here or there, but I'm not convinced of the 11-foot variance would be in order. So I think the best thing for all parties is to have a continuance, see what happens, and they may come back and comply with the ordinance, and we won't even see it. So that's my opinion.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll make that a motion to continue the matter.
Yeah, so we'll make it move to defer V25-002 to a date not specific to allow the applicant to redesign.
I have a motion.
Sound good?
Do I have a second?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, I know for the minutes we have to have it a certain way.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor to the deferral signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
4-2.
So that the deferral 4-2.
Yes.
Any updates?
Did we have any updates, ladies? Oh, Tammy has an update.
Just as a reminder, we don't have a meeting next month. They're be moving the council chambers down to the first floor. So if we have a meeting in May, we'll let you know, and we'll be meeting down in the new council chambers. Another thing is the general plan. If you are not keeping aware of it in the paper, it is moving forward and it'll be heard next Tuesday by City Council. So just to let you know.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? I want to thank my fellow board members. It's been a pleasure serving with you. I was not reappointed to the Board of Adjustments, so this is my last meeting. So you guys all have a good time.
Jim, I do apologize. I feel like we did not honor you properly, and thank you for your service. I know you've served in several positions with the city.
Thank you.
A lot to you.
I appreciate that. But fact of the matter is that, elections have consequences. I just happen to be one of the consequences. With that, this meeting.